Hey, what's up guys? This is my 2016 Fiesta ST. I'm gonna walk you through a quick version and then I'll do a more detailed in-depth explanation of how I wired up my subwoofer in the back. So starting up here, it's my battery tether. Goes to a Boss 8mm fuse wiring kit, sorry. Double-sided tape to that, runs through here, come around the corner. This gasket I cut through it, put the wire through, ran it out of this hole right here using a coat hanger to pull it through, fished it down through the weather stripping, used the coat hanger to get it through here. I didn't take off any of these panels. Through here, I took out the bottom seat, so the back seat, right now it's folded down. Well actually I didn't need to coat hanger it through here. Without the bottom seat, it's super easy. You definitely should do that. Routed the wire through here. Runs up here to my amplifier. My amp is sitting on top of a shelf that I bought at Ace Hardware. I velcroed this to the bottom of this and to this. On the bottom of this there's some felt pads that let the shelf not abrade on the tire. Power cable goes here obviously. And then over here my speaker wires, and then I have my control unit to turn on and off the amp when I turn on and off the car, and this is my ground, and then my left and right is right here, and I'll explain all of that. So my switching cable goes along this way, same thing with my ground, it goes this way with the switch cable. I'll show you actually right here, same thing with my left and right, so my left and right goes under the board out this side and up through that way. Take you around this side. Okay, so basically to run the ground, there's a ground factory behind this panel. This panel is not too difficult to take out. You don't need any, well there's one screw actually. So you take out that screw and the panel just kind of pops out. You should take out the light first. The light can just pop out like that. And this is the quick version, so hold on. I tapped into my left and right speakers right here, and used a conversion box to convert the low end frequencies for the left and right, since our stock head unit doesn't have a connector on the back of it. And this is my switching cable. Just peeled up this weather stripping, brought it in through here, and then tapped into my fuse box. It's back there. You can see right there is my fuse tap. Okay, so now I'll do the long explanation. So basically Boss 8-gauge wiring kit, tapped into my battery right there. I did run into some issues with the battery terminal with I just messed up. It had nothing to do with the kit. The kit should work fine for you on your first try. So yeah, you do need a crimper and you need a 10mm and 8mm socket wrench, electrical tape, and maybe some double-sided tape. So crimp that on, electrical taped it, put this sheathing to protect from abrasion, ran it back to the fuse, same deal. This is pretty self-explanatory how this works. I double-side taped it to here. I could probably access this with without removing this, but if I do need to remove it, I could take off both these sides. They just unscrew. Then I routed my power cable underneath this little plastic tab, and underneath this stock cable. I just didn't want it rattling around so much, so I made sure that it was like kind of snug in there, and it does fit pretty snug. But there's no actual pinching pressure on the power cable itself, just on the sheathing. So the sheathing, it runs back there. I was conscious of this. I didn't want this to pinch on it. I just kept it against the wall, and there's an OEM cable back there. It's hard to see. I ran it alongside the OEM cable. Yeah, you can see it right there. Just because I figure that, you know, Ford knows what they're doing with routing cables, so that should be fine. So I just used a coat hanger to bring it back through here, and then I used a coat hanger. I routed the coat hanger through here, kind of curved it gently so I could fish it up, and get it through this hole. And to get it through this hole, you want to pop this this gasket off. And that gasket's just unused. I think in certain Fiesta models it is used, but at least in the 16 ST that I have, it's not used. I think the sedan version it might be used, but hatchbacks it's clear, I'm not sure. But I popped it off. I cut an X into it, kind of a cross, and then pulled this cable through with the sheathing on. And then once I got it through with the sheathing on, because I wanted the sheathing to come out this side, I just cut it. I pulled it out a little bit further, cut it, and then pushed it back in. And then I made sure that when I pulled this cable, that I pulled it outwards, so the little like X was pushing outwards and wasn't pushing inwards. So that way when I put this like marine sealant all over it, you know, no leaks. The marine sealant's supposed to be like resistant to salt water and stuff, so that's why I used it. It's just like a silicone type of thing. I got it at Ace Hardware. So I ran the power cable through here. This is my base control switch. Doesn't really work right now, but it's routed to the back. So I didn't have to take off any of these panels. I just pulled up the weather stripping. And to pull up the weather stripping, you just kind of put your finger behind here and then pull. Try to get your finger as deep into like where you touch the ridge, because this could potentially rip, but probably won't. It's pretty sturdy. I ran this through here, coat hanger to fish it through. I didn't have to take this off. And then the back seat. So to take out the back seat, it's easy once you know how to do it. It's tricky the first time, I guess. If you feel under here, under the front, you'll feel like a plastic lever almost. So like if you were sitting in the back seat on this side, it would sit around under your left thigh. I could explain, like under your knee area, that's where it would be. And you either push back on it or pull forward on it. Both this side and that side are facing like the same direction. So let's say the switch is like this. It's like this on this side and that on that side. It's not like flipped or reversed or mirrored, so that's kind of confusing. But yeah, you do that. You're able to, you unlatch both the front hooks, but then behind the seat there's some like hooks that go like this. So you have to push the seat back and kind of pivot the back up, and then it comes out real easy. And this should be sitting upright. Once it's sitting upright underneath where this seat used to be, there's about a 2 or 3 inch gap where you see body paint and a bunch of cables that run this way. So I routed my cable to just run in the same route as those cables, because I figure, you know, pinch points and such, they engineered it so it wouldn't get pinched. I mean, that's about it. To get this panel off, you take this off, right? And then this just twists, the bulb pops out, you could just stick it back in there. Take this and put this somewhere safe. I suggest in like your glove compartment or your center console actually, because you'll be popping out your glove compartment. I'll explain that in a second. This panel, you undo this screw, it just comes out, kind of like pull it straight out and down. And then back here, you'll see, it's around here I want to say, but against the body, it's a ground screw. And I didn't know anything about installing subwoofers or anything like that when I first started this, so I was like, what is a ground, whatever. I'm not going to explain that, but you need to ground your amp for power to flow to it. So usually what a lot of people will do is like they'll sand away at this and then like drill 2 drill holes and, you know, pinch something in there. And that works, but if you don't know what you're doing, or if you don't want to drill into your body, if you don't know what you're doing, you could screw it up, it could start to rust, it could come loose, a whole bunch of things. So it's best to find a factory ground. And they're all over cars these days, I guess. So there's one located back here. You'll find it, you just gotta pull this out. Like, I was kind of afraid to pull it out, but I found it pretty easy too. So yeah, my subwoofer, the way that this is mounted, it's a 10-inch shallow mount Pioneer. I might have already explained that. But basically it sits pretty flat. I put some Velcro here and on the other side, and it has like feet like this. So I wrapped those in the fuzzy side of the Velcro, and then it kind of blends into the carpet finish. and then I put the hook side on the actual paint. I made sure to clean the paint with alcohol before I put it on, so it'd stick well. And I haven't had any issues with it at all. It doesn't move around. It's pretty, 1 foot rests on the tire. 1 foot rests like kind of on this carpet, and it was teetering, but I added some foam to keep it from teetering. And then these 2 back feet sit flush. And this sits basically flush with the cargo floor. Just barely sticks a little too high, so the cargo floor kind of like angles up just so slightly. I'm a perfectionist, it doesn't bother me. Just so you know, that's the thing that it does. This is totally unimpeded by the cargo floor, but I do have some concern over how this shifts around when I drive. I mean, it's not too shifted around right now from all my driving so far, so I'm not really concerned about it beyond anything like that. Yeah, and I just keep like spare clothes and everything like that stuffed in these areas. I try to avoid stuffing things around these cables because these connections can potentially break. I actually had my speaker wires, I want to get a heavier gauge. I've had them break on me. So yeah. Coming around, so with the Fiesta, our stock head unit doesn't have left and right inputs, and a amp needs left and right inputs, right? So what you need is this conversion box. Let's see if I can show you. Okay, so you need one of these. It's a line output converter. So what you need to do is you need to tap into your rear speakers, basically. Some people on forums have said that the rear speakers on the Fiesta are modulated by the EQ in a weird way and the front ones aren't, so some people tap into the front. I looked into it and it seemed that the person who was saying that was running like the driver's mode EQ on their Fiesta, and they didn't have like the normal mode on, which is why it like messed up whatever he was doing. So I just went with the rear, and it sounds fine to me. So you get these T-taps, and I had some trouble. So this bundle right here that comes out of here, at least on the 16, has your speaker cables. So what I did was I sliced into this electrical tape really carefully, and I located the blue and brown and the blue and white, and they're skinny. There's some